Nellie versus Elizabeth. Two daredevil journalists' breakneck race around the world. Written by Kate Hannigan. Illustrated by Rebecca Gibbon. Here is a race around the globe between two young women who make no pretense to athletics, but who have been blessed with indomitable pluck and high intellectual endowments. Reported in the Atchison Daily Globe, Atchison, Kansas, Saturday, November 23rd, 1889. Eager and energetic, stunt reporter Nellie Bly loved to be in the thick of things, mud, muck, and all. Refined and dignified magazine writer Elizabeth Bisland preferred the quiet company of a book. Nellie was willing to go to outrageous extremes to catch a reader's attention. Elizabeth was not. One night, Nellie tossed and turned, unable to come up with a story idea to give her editors. "I wish I was at the other end of the earth." That was it! People everywhere were fascinated by a fictional adventure story called Around the World in 80 Days. Nellie's idea was to circle the globe, only she'd do it in just 75. "Women are too delicate for adventures," scoffed her editors. "Sending a man, now that makes sense." Nellie fumed, but her bosses soon realized stories about a woman traveling the world alone might make them a pile of money. When could Nellie set off? "I can start this minute." 9:40 a.m., November 14th, 1889. Bounding onto a steamship and wearing a new dress, her only outfit for the journey. Nellie had barely left New York before she met her first challenge: seasickness. 6 p.m., November 14th, 1889. Sitting in bed, nibbling toast and reading newspapers, Elizabeth received a message from her editor. He knew readers would devour stories about Nellie Bly girdling the globe. Would Elizabeth do it? In the opposite direction? No way! I had 50 people invited to afternoon tea. But by evening, Elizabeth packed her bags and climbed aboard a train to California. The race around the world was on. Elizabeth blazed 2,800 miles across America, reaching San Francisco bright-eyed and ahead of schedule, with time to ride cable cars and dine along the cliffs. I wonder how the coming generation that is to travel 100 and 150 miles an hour will bear the strain of it. Nellie tumbled 3,000 miles over the Atlantic and staggered bleary-eyed onto England's shores. Leaping onto a train for London, there was no time to see the sights. As Nellie Bly has started round the world had better pull down its blinds, or there will be no secrets the world round when she returns. Watertown Times, New York, November 16, 1889. Days 7 and 8. Poetry-loving Elizabeth plunged into the sapphire and gold Pacific Ocean. Turning green with seasickness, she couldn't lift her pen for 4 days. Of her character, it is only necessary to say that she started on the 10-week journey on 6 hours' notice. Sisters, think of that! San Francisco Chronicle, November 20th, 1889. Boat, train, train. Nellie worried a detour to the tiny French town of Amiens would cost her precious time. But shaking hands with Around the World in 80 Days author Jules Verne made the delay worth it. She was determined to beat his book. It really is not to be believed that that little girl is going all alone around the world. Why, she looks like a mere child. Jules Verne quoted in Morning Oregonian, Portland, Oregon, December 1st, 1889. Day 32. Elizabeth and Nellie were supposed to arrive in Hong Kong on the same day, but Nellie's ship ran late. The ticking clock pounded in her ears. Stylish Elizabeth had time to explore busy markets, Buying up silk dresses, shoes, and kimonos, she was shocked to see women wearing pants. American ladies never donned trousers. Stuck in Singapore, irritable Nellie shopped too. Eventually, she found the perfect souvenir, a monkey. McGinty became Nellie's curious, cranky travel companion for the rest of the journey. A cable dispatch announces the arrival of Miss Bisland at Hong Kong. She sails tomorrow on the English mail steamer, 3 days ahead of the time expected. At last accounts, Nellie Bly was 3 days behind her time. Daily Evening Bulletin, San Francisco, California, December 17, 1889. Day 36, around December 20th, 1889. In the South China Sea, as Nellie's ship steamed north and Elizabeth's plowed south, the two daredevil journalists passed each other. "Godspeed," cries everyone to the two brave girls who, having chosen a career which for many years was occupied almost exclusively by men, are hurrying alone through foreign lands with a view to a success which will rival that of many men of journalistic fame. Atchison, Kansas Daily Globe, November 23, 1889. Day 39. Nellie's newspaper started a contest to guess her finishing time, and thousands of entries flooded the newsroom. The whole world seemed to be following the breakneck race between the two journalists, except one person. "I am running a race with time," Nellie told a steamship agent in Hong Kong. "Time?" he replied. "I don't think that's her name." Nellie's jaw dropped. This was the first she'd heard of Elizabeth Bisland. Now she didn't just have to beat the clock, Nellie had to beat Elizabeth too. Day 55. If I loved and married, I would say to my mate, "Come, I know where Eden is," and desert the land of my birth for Japan. Nellie Bly. I may never see this again, this world, where the light of night and of day have a new meaning, where one is drenched and steeped in color and perfume. Elizabeth Bisland. Day 63. Nellie clung to the rails as Pacific storms battered the ship. Superstitious sailors blamed McGinty, wanting to throw him overboard. Twisting her ring to bring good luck, Nellie predicted she'd reach New York by January 26th, just 73 days around the world. Elizabeth glided across the Mediterranean, then sent a message to her editor, tapping over the telegraph wires. She planned to catch a steamship off the coast of France, making her arrival date in New York January 26th. The race was neck and neck. Day 68. Nellie's boat bumped into San Francisco's harbor, and she scrambled to the railroad station. But blizzards were dumping snow across the west, so her newspaper hired a special train to barrel through to Chicago. It was glorious, a ride worthy of a queen. Elizabeth bounded from her rail car near Paris and bumped into a travel agent. He delivered terrible news that her ship in Le Havre refused to wait. "You must make other plans," he told her. The cause of this false information was never satisfactorily ascertained. It, however, succeeded in lengthening the voyage 4 days. January 25th, 1890. Nellie's train thundered over the finish line as cannons boomed and 10,000 well-wishers cheered and tossed flowers. Nellie had journeyed 25,000 miles and circled the globe in 72 days, 6 hours, and 11 minutes, the first person, man or woman, ever to accomplish such a feat. It is noteworthy that a goodly proportion of her admirers were themselves women. Altogether, it was a reception worthy of a princess. North American, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, January 27th, 1890. Her ship hammered by surging waves and soaking rain, Elizabeth finally drifted into New York's harbor nearly 1 week later. She didn't celebrate her time of 76 days, 16 hours, and 48 minutes. Though she beat the book's 80 days, Elizabeth hadn't beaten Nellie. I realized from the first that it was a hard fight between myself and Miss Bly, and to say that I did my best to win is simply to say that I never lost a moment from the time of my start. So who won? While crowds whooped for Nellie and doubters said Elizabeth was tricked, the true winner was everyone, because Nellie and Elizabeth made the wide world suddenly feel smaller. And they showed that women, whether outgoing or introverted, rough-edged or refined, could be just as curious, capable, and courageous as any man. People the world over have been taught that they are not so far apart as they had imagined, and that is a great lesson. You have set the whole world to thinking about it, and so have brought mankind nearer together. Mayor Orestes Cleveland of Jersey City, New Jersey, Evening World, January 25th, 1890.